Welcome to Bleed Blue, the SWOSU Athletics podcast, bringing you interviews and insights from around Southwestern Oklahoma State University.
Well, it's time. There are certain things and certain times in life where you need to look at changes. One of the greatest things that's ever happened in my life was to be able to lead this wonderful university.
Be in attack mode for 90.
Southwestern, get behind this cowboy. Looking here.
Touchdown, Bulldog!
Around here, we bleed blue.
Now here's your host, Haley Tucker.
Welcome back, Bulldog Nation. I'm Haley Tucker, your host for the new SWOSU Athletics podcast, Bleed Blue. This is episode 2, where we have a very special guest today, President Randy Beutler. And President Beutler, it's great to see you again. I feel like I haven't seen you in ages.
I know, it's been quite a while, Haley. Hope you're doing well and miss you here on campus.
Well, I miss it too, and I'm not missing, what's the craziness going on right now. Can you kind of talk about how you guys have had to change your ways due to COVID-19?
Oh, everything's pretty much the same. Really, it has, as you can imagine, it's been a very, very challenging year, as it has been for all educational institutions. But with the great team that we have here at Southwestern, our faculty and staff, they have really stepped up to the challenge. So as many of our viewers know, and as you know, last March, we just basically had to turn on a dime and, go from in-person educational experience to completely online. And, our faculty did it and did a tremendous job, and our students, they came up to the task. And then, of course, through the summer, we spent a lot of time working on things in campus. Our goal was to come back in person in the fall, and so we spent a lot of time with the campus, putting up plexiglass, putting in place safety measures to try to ensure that, you mitigate. You can't, with this virus, you cannot, eliminate it. The issue is mitigation. And so with a mask mandate, several things like that, I am just extremely proud of our students and our faculty. And, right now our positive test rates are very, very low. And, our students and staff are complying with the mandate. So, we're excited about being able to continue the fall and hopefully, get to December and have our graduation. As many people know, we couldn't have it in May, so we rescheduled it to December and hoping to have that at that time.
And yeah, that's always one of the best events at SWOSU is graduation. It makes you tear come to your eye every single time. But I think that change is maybe a motto here at Southwestern. I saw that you announced that you are retiring after a decade at SWOSU. Tell me what's going on there, President Beutler.
Well, it's time. There are certain things and certain times in life where you need to look at changes. One of the greatest things that's ever happened in my life was to be able to lead this wonderful university. And I'm so honored to have been able to do that. Started in 2010. By the time I finish out this academic year, it will be nearly 12 years. I think that's the fourth longest of any president. It doesn't seem that long, but it's I'm ready for some new challenges in my life. Of course, we have the cow-calf operation, the ranch we run out at Elk City. I'm looking forward to spending some more time at that. Doing some writing and research, a few things like that. And, I'm hopeful maybe I'm going to stay here in Weatherford. Maybe they might ask me back to teach a few classes. As many people know, I teach a history class, a freshman GE history class every fall, and really enjoy that and might be able to do that some more. So, it's a bittersweet time. As you mentioned, I'm going to miss a lot of things like graduation. And I'll tell you, and I've said this many times, the other thing I miss will be this time of year. As I've said many times, there is no better place in the world to be than in a college campus in the fall of the year. You have students coming back, you have the season changing, getting cooler, college football, although unfortunately we're not going to have that at least in the fall this year, but we know we'll have it in the future. And, I would tell all of our viewers, alumnus, everyone else, you get a chance, come to campus, whether you have a student here or not, and participate in some of these events and support our student athletes and the things that they do. You can't imagine the positive impact that has on them and in turn has on our campus.
And, I was a basketball player there. I loved seeing all the faces in the crowds, but I got to play in the Pioneer Cellular Event Center, not in Rankin. I mean, we played one game there, but you were there to oversee those changes. You were there when the wellness was built. So can you kind of talk about the upgrades that we have here at SWOSU and what it's done for our athletics program?
Well, I've been fortunate that we've had a lot of projects that we've been able to initiate and complete. And as you mentioned, the Pioneer Cellular Event Center is one of those. Of course, that kind of started coming into being when I started as president in February of 2010. During that time, there was an election, one on campus, where the students voted a fee to help pay for that. But the great citizens of the city of Weatherford also voted part of a sales tax to that. And then, of course, we sold naming rights, things like that, to be able to build this $24 million, 93,000 square foot facility that has various purposes. Granted, it's the home of SWOSU basketball and volleyball and other events, but it's also a place where we hold trade shows, concerts, many different things like that. And in fact, and it's hard to believe that coming up before long, it'll be 6 years that facility's been open. And with our Business Enterprise Center, we did a study on the economic impact, and the economic impact on Weatherford over that period of time has been over $20 million. So we're pleased with that. One of the other things that I wanted to attempt to get done before my retirement was that penny sales tax came up again for renewal. We were asked, we're very appreciative of the mayor and the city commission to allowing us being a part of that, but we were allowed back in for another portion of that. It passed with 57% of the vote, and so we will see about $7 million in the future going towards healthcare infrastructure on this campus to help us continue to turn out the great graduates we have in nursing, in pharmacy, in med lab tech, in radiation tech, in allied health, and all of these very important medical fields that today more than ever are very important to rural Western Oklahoma.
And that's what, I mean, people don't understand how SWOSU has really gained some of those, some of those majors and some of the money that we've been able to bring in. I mean, it's incredible to see. And, some of the memories that I have at SWOSU are just incredible. And I'm curious as to what your favorite memory, over your 12 years at SWOSU, what just pops out in your head?
Oh, honestly, probably the graduations. And I'm sure as I sit and think about it, there would be other things, but all the various graduations, especially seeing students come across the stage that I know, like you, students that, I've taught in class, so forth like that. And, it's such a very joyous time, and and having the parents there and all the regalia and everything else that's involved in it, that's something that's really great. Again, as I mentioned before, the start of school, athletic events, be it football games, basketball games, to be honest with you and sitting here talking to you, one of my favorite memories, and again, it's kind of bittersweet also, actually wasn't on campus, but it's the national championship playoffs and those games, in Ohio. I mean, that was such fun, and you and your fellow athletes, I mean, just handled yourselves with such professionalism and grace representing SWOSU. That will be a memory I will always cherish.
Well, thank you for that. But, we were in Ohio, and you came up there, I believe, with Thurman. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
with our came up.
And with our athletics director, Thurman, and I kind of heard that you guys got to do some cool things over in Ohio that we certainly didn't get to do. Can you kind of talk about that?
Oh, sure. Of course, I love to travel, see historical sites. So the first thing is we get in the car, and of course, Todd's real good. He loves history also. So, we go see some presidential museums. We go over and see the Pro Football Hall of Fame, things like that. And then great things just in Columbus, seeing Ohio State Stadium. Of course, I remember when Von Schaumann kicked the field goal there. That was way back in the 70s. A great German restaurant we ate at a couple of times. So, it was fun to view that area. But as always, it's a lot better getting back home. Again, that basketball game was great. But you know what? It would have been a lot better in our facility, because we had a lot better facility to play in, actually. Not really downing the facility we played in, but we had a lot better facility to play in, and could have hosted the national championship game very easily.
Oh, very easily. And, thanks for the invite, first of all, to the Pro Hall of Fame. Yeah, I'm a little mad at you for that.
Practicing, so.
Right. But you also talked about graduation and seeing those students walk across the stage. And we do have a picture of me and you together at graduation. I just wanted to ask, how mad were you at me for wearing 6-inch heels during my graduation?
Well, not that much, because I'm used to a lot of people towering over me and things like that. So, no, I would have expected that, and I'll tell you what, that's great. I actually, and I've got it up here on my wall, have a picture of you and I at the national championship tournament taking a picture. And of course, to get in the picture, you kind of have to bend down a little bit so we can get both of us in the camera field. But no, things like that are what make makes this university special.
Well, I'm glad you took that one well. I was a little nervous to ask that question, but that's awesome. But yeah, and then, you mentioned you're writing a book. So that's incredible. I would love to hear about that. And then also, most people don't know, you talked about ranching, that you are a rancher, that you have that on, you're president of SWOSU University first, but you also have one of the hardest jobs in the world. Can you kind of talk about that?
Well, and it's a great getaway on the weekends and things like that. But I grew up on a ranch. That's a tradition of not just my family, but my extended family. My great-grandfather made the run into Oklahoma in 1892 and settled near Okarche, then came out to Elk City in about 1903. And so, of course, we still do that, still go out, gather cattle on horseback. In fact, just this last weekend was doing the same thing, was on horseback. And you mentioned memories, one of my favorite memories, and I've got a picture of it here on my wall, but I've got a picture of us gathering one day. And what happened was earlier in the day, we had graduation, and I shook about 700 hands. And then that afternoon, I'm on horseback gathering cattle for spring roundup. So it's something I love. It's something that's really great to do. But you mentioned the book that I was writing, because it has a little bit to do with that. My grandfather and my great uncles, my grandfather just very shortly, but my great uncles were involved in the rodeo business, and my cousin and others still are today, from the stock contracting side, providing stock for rodeos. They started in 1929, and at one time in the 50s and 60s were considered the largest stock contractors in the United States in professional rodeo. They put on some of the largest rodeos: Napa, Idaho, Denver, Colorado, Cheyenne Frontier Days, Fort Worth, all these large shows. And we're also very instrumental in starting the National Finals Rodeo, which is one of the largest sporting events in the country. And so I was tasked by my cousin, who's also a graduate of SWOSU, Benny Beutler, to write this book about the history of the Beutler family in rodeo and its impact on professional rodeo. So I've been working on it for about a year now. It's a little difficult right now because due to the pandemic, some research facilities are a little hard to get into, but I expect hopefully the book will be done about a year from now, and then I'll certainly be open to selling the movie rights, figuring out who will play me in the feature. But no, it's a great story. I found out a lot of interesting things, and it's just kind of rekindled that passion of historical research in me that, as I mentioned before, when I do retire, I want to do a lot more writing.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations, first of all. That's amazing that you have this book coming out, and I'll make sure to send me an autographed copy of it. I'm looking forward to that. But you talked about rodeo, and I'm sure that rodeo has to be on one of your top favorite sports at SWOSU. And we've had a lot of success with that with this Neskies program. Can you kind of talk about the success that you've seen over the years here at SWOSU?
Oh, sure. Of course, as you know, we've had tremendous success on and off the field with our athletic programs. First of all, my theory has always been is the focus has always got to be on the success of the student athlete. Success on the field, in the arena, on the course, wherever it is very important. But what's most important is the success of our students in life. But back along the lines of success on the field and elsewhere, as many people know, we have had a great history of success. Of course, you being involved in women's basketball, all the national championships that we've been involved in and won, and all the conference titles and everything else, and All-Americans and all that, that's tremendous. But, you specifically mentioned rodeo, same thing there, numerous national championships, individuals that have gone on to do great professionally in pro rodeo, winning world titles, several different individuals. One of the things that I'm proud of is, of course, our family. Benny's grandfather and dad helped start the SWOSU Rodeo. They provided stock, involved with Doc Mitchell and getting that rodeo started, and still bring stock in the spring each year, although, of course, we didn't get to have the rodeo this last spring due to the pandemic. But, people like Sage Kimsey, of course, I've known Sage all of his life since he was a kid growing up at Strong City. But out there, won numerous world titles in bull riding. And not just that, but like all of our student athletes, a great role model for others out there in that sport and many other sports that, people can look up to, that we're glad to say, we're glad this person was a part of our program and has gone on to great success. And of course, it's not just in athletics, it's in academics too. The same thing there. We have students that go out and do great things and frankly change the world for the better.
Well, we're nearing the end of our podcast here, and at the end of every podcast, we love to ask this question. Since our name is Bleed Blue, why do you bleed blue, President Beutler? That's one of the biggest questions we want to know here.
Well, first of all, this is a place that when I came here and got my degree, it changed my life for the better. I wouldn't have been able to do the things that I've done, have success in the classroom, teaching school, having served in the Oklahoma State Legislature, having served on the senior staff of an Oklahoma governor, Governor Henry, and then eventually be able to become president of this fine institution. But it's not just that. It goes all the way back. My great uncle, Earl Beutler, went to school here and graduated in 1913. My grandmother graduated from here in 1919 and went out and taught in the rural schools. So, it's a great family tradition also. But again, the main thing is that this is a place that changed my life, and that's what we tell students all the time. I'll leave you with this. This is an anonymous quote that a parent left that I think describes what we do at SWOSU. And this parent basically said to us, "I've always worked for my living and know little, if any, about college. My son is very bright, and I want only the best for him. Please give him what he needs." That's what we do here at SWOSU, and that's what I believe we do very well.
Well, it's incredible to hear that a long line of Beutlers were a part of the SWOSU dog generation, and you surely will be missed after you retire. And I'm so grateful that I got to be a part of the Beutler reign here at SWOSU. But thank you so much for joining our podcast, and I appreciate you taking the time today.
Thank you, Haley. Good luck.
Well, thank you, and thanks for joining us on our podcast, Bleed Blue. We will be joined next week by another guest. We aren't sure who yet, but find out next week on Bleed Blue here with SWOSU Athletics.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Bleed Blue, the SWOSU Athletics podcast. To learn more about Bulldog Athletics, visit us on the web at www.swosuathletics.com. And as always, go Dogs! Subscribe to Bleed Blue, the SWOSU Athletics podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.